Hey everyone, so this is writing micro lesson number 3 on properly citing sources for Honors 112 in the Civilization sequence of the Honors College of the University of Maine, and I'm the instructor, Rob Glover. So today we're talking about something that you have no doubt done in your academic career, and really the goal is to help you understand why citations and citing sources is so important, and help you give you some tools to be more systematic in how you cite sources and to really kind of get this skill down. So what are citations? Well, you have examples of citations on the right-hand side here. You have an in-text citation at the top there, and then you have corresponding citation information in a bibliography at the end. And all citations do are clarify the lineage of ideas, right? So think of you're writing as a conversation that's happening and there's different ideas, and it establishes where ideas are coming from, or claims or facts or statistics. And it also helps provide your reader kind of a guide. It's like a map so that they can go and find the original source of those ideas. And so when we make reference to a citation style in academic writing, all we're saying is that this is a systematized way of communicating that information to your reader. So citations are important. Now, why do we cite? Well, you ask different professors this question, you might get different answers. One answer that you often get, which I don't think is the best answer, is to avoid plagiarism. Now, plagiarism is serious. Plagiarism is defined as, misrepresenting others' ideas as your own, and that's something that you need to be mindful of. So if you present, say, a direct quote from another work, and you don't establish that that's a direct quote and provide clear information about where you're drawing that quote from, that's misrepresenting others' ideas as your own, and you don't want to do that. But I think framing this in terms of plagiarism is problematic. It's not simply that we don't want you to cheat. We obviously don't want that, but it's also part of establishing this path, this lineage of ideas, and firmly identifying for your reader where the ideas within your work are coming from, what ideas are your own, and what ideas are not your own, and providing them a pathway that they can go and find those original sources. So the reasons why we cite sources, the really important reasons, are: 1, to establish the source of ideas, whether they be your own ideas or those of others. 2, to bolster arguments and claims. So if you are citing reputable, well-established journalistic sources or research materials, that provides a certain credibility to what you're arguing that might be lacking if you're just drawing upon anonymous websites, or you saw something on Twitter or Facebook and you are integrating that idea. So you want to establish where the ideas are coming from, and if the sources are good ones, then that actually strengthens your argument. It makes your argument more credible. And also, you're leaving kind of a trail of breadcrumbs for others that are engaged in intellectual inquiry. So when I'm interested in a certain topic and I come across a paper that's researched it extensively and it has a very good work cited, and they're very diligent about citing their sources, that's great for me because that's like a treasure map. All of that work that I would have to do searching to find those other sources has already been done for me, and I can just kind of mine the sources that others have cited and use that to enhance my own understanding of an issue or a question or a topic that I'm interested in researching. So that's, I think, the core reason why we cite sources. It's not just about plagiarism, it's also about establishing the credibility of our ideas, making sure that the reader knows where the ideas are coming from, and also providing them a guide so that they can find information and research and facts and data on their own. When do we cite? This is an area where students sometimes struggle a little bit. Certainly, when you're using a direct quotation from another work, you're going to cite that, right? So you never want to integrate a direct quote from another work and not have it be clear that that's not your own idea and not your own writing. So that absolutely you have to do. Where it becomes a little bit more complicated is when you're not presenting a direct quote. So if you are presenting an idea, a claim, a fact, a statistic from another work, even if it's not a direct quote, if you're paraphrasing something, or you're just citing, some statistics that you found in a report, but you're not directly quoting it, that needs to be cited. So you cite any time that what you're presenting is not your own original idea and it's not common knowledge. So common knowledge can be a little bit tricky because it's like, what does the average person know? But for instance, something like, the Earth is the third planet from the sun, that's common knowledge. You don't need to have a citation for that. The American Revolution was set off by the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Common knowledge. You don't need to cite that. But if you're citing specific statistics or an idea, a concept that's original to a certain thinker, then you want to cite that information. And if it's a borderline case and you're not sure, I always say to students, it's best just to cite the information if it's a gray area and you're not 100% clear. How do we cite? Well, this is where that citation style comes in. You want to find a citation style and follow it closely. And my advice to you is, if you have a major, a field of study in which you're going to be doing the bulk of your work, reach out to one of your professors and see what citation style is common within your major. And then use that style. Become well-versed in that style that's pretty customary in the field that you work in. So here are some examples. MLA, which stands for Modern Language Association, APA, which stands for the American Psychological Association, Chicago, Turabian. There's dozens of citation styles. But you want to choose one. You want to ensure that you're using both an in-text citation and a full bibliographic citation. Nearly every style requires both. So that first example that you saw on the very first page had parenthetical in-text citations, but it also had the full bibliographic citation at the end of the piece. And that's important because if you just have the in-text citation and all that tells you is the author's last name and the year in which a work was written, your reader's not going to be able to find the actual source from that information. Also, just a note that if you're using an unconventional source, so it might be a web page or an interview that you conducted yourself, an original interview, a movie, a film, a piece of poetry, a magazine article, something that's not your traditional book or journal article, there is a citation style for that. There's a citation formatting within your citation style. You just need to find it. And it's very rare that you would have a type of source for which there was no corresponding citation format within your style. So generally there you have to do a little bit of Googling to find out how that is actually formatted. And if you really run into issues or problems or have questions, just shoot me a message and I might be able to help. So one more caveat, there are a number of citation generators online, and there's also software like RefWorks or Zotero that helps organize sources and collects citation information and then can produce outputs, either in-text citations or bibliographies in a variety of different styles. I don't think you need to worry about that so much for the type of writing that you'll be doing in my class, but that's definitely something that's a great tool and a great resource for work that you're going to do in the future, like on an honors thesis or a more extensive research paper. The only thing that I'll say is if you're using citation generators or you're using this sort of software, even if you have all the information entered into a piece of software, or you're pulling that information from somewhere online and there's a citation generator that's producing it for you, look closely at the end result and at the format for what's supposed to be there, what sort of information is supposed to be there. Oftentimes these sort of automatic citation generators or even citation software produce something that's not complete and needs a little bit of cleaning up and a little bit of work before you put it into your paper. So just be mindful of that you're actually producing something that will enable the reader to track down the source. So the three criteria for using citations effectively: 1, choose a citation style and follow it closely. And ideally, like I said, use the same citation style that's customary for your major or your field of study, and really try to learn that so that you're familiar with it and you're familiar with how citations are supposed to look. Also, you want to ensure that your citation enables the reader to track down the original source. In a way, that's the most important piece. You don't want your reader, if they're really interested in a claim and they want to research it further, you want them to be able to find that source and to be able to track it down. And also, and this is a point that I'm kind of a stickler on, and if you do this in your writing, you'll definitely get feedback from me on it, but you don't want to just drop a quote into the middle of your paragraph and not have it introduced with transitional language and kind of cushioned with your own writing. I see this pretty frequently, and they actually call this a hit and run quote. It's problematic for a number of reasons. The biggest problem is that anytime you introduce a quote, you're disrupting the voice of your writing, right? You're taking your own writing that has its own style, its own characteristics, and you're plunking in someone else's writing. And that, just in terms of flow and how the writing reads, can be disruptive for the reader. And so to the extent that you can use transitional language and kind of soften the blow a little bit, I encourage you to do that. And so there's an example here. As Glover 2009 argues, quote, citations are extremely important. Wherever you can, you want to try to use that transitional language. Some helpful resources. I'm a huge fan of OWL, the Purdue Online Writing Lab, and there's at least 2 pretty comprehensive citation style guides on Purdue Online Writing Lab. I think MLA and APA, possibly Chicago as well, which are probably the 3 major citation styles. So that's a good place for resources, just about how to format sources and how to construct bibliographies using different citation styles. And also UMaine has a great library guide on citations, and so I encourage you to check out that as well. And the key thing, as I said, for this course is just to learn to be more systematic in your use of citations, understand why they exist, understand it's not just about plagiarism, it's about establishing the lineage of ideas and providing your reader with a roadmap to track down the source of those ideas. And even if we're only dealing with text that we've read in class, right? If you're just citing text that you've read for the course, I want you to get into the habit of using citations, both an in-text citation and a full bibliographic citation. And the more you get into that habit, just the easier it will be for you as you go further in your college career and have to do more intensive forms of writing and incorporate a greater number and array of sources. So hopefully that's helpful for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And that's it. Now you can head over and read the prompt and the rubric for this week and make sure to cite your sources. And I look forward to reading your work.